All right. Well, we're trying this again, and welcome. Happy Saturday. Let's see. We have some people here in the room with us, and they're going to see if now we're able to broadcast online. I think what the problem might have been with the online broadcast is that in the PowerPoint presentation, obviously that I'm going to go through, is there's a video. And in the video, it's come to my awareness that StreamYard does not allow you to play a video during your live stream. So let's see what happens here. We're all good? You hear your audio? Okay. All right. Praise the Lord Jesus. All right. All right. Well, let's get going. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So you guys, can you let me know if you see my screen here? Everybody see my screen? Yes. Can you put it in the chat? Yeah, you can see my screen. Yeah, no, you cannot see my screen. There's got a little bit of delay. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so let me go up here. So here's the PowerPoint. Let me just show you what I'm working with. I'm going to hit presenter view. You should now be able to see the screen. I think, is that correct? I think that's correct. And okay, all right. Y'all, I just gotta before we really get kicked off here, because these people that are here in the room with me in the live audience, they've been so kind. They've been so kind and so gracious to me and so patient with me. Um, and so man, okay, so here's why it took a minute. This is my very first time using StreamYard. Now, I'm going to tell you in a minute, I'm here with some of my Innovate Real Estate family, and they've allowed me to come in today, but they've also allowed me to open this up for, a virtual audience. And so doing it virtually to try to broadcast it live to LinkedIn, to YouTube, to Facebook, the goal is to reach as many people as possible. Why? Because I want to add value to as many people as possible. So they were so kind to me to say, hey, just pause a minute. We'll wait. There's no rush. And of course, if you know Jason, Jason, your friend, likes to go fast. That's why, the business that I created was called Fast Lane Leadership. Get in the fast lane. Let's go, and let's go fast. And, it's not a sprint race. We always want to say that it's not a sprint race, but it is a marathon. And just in the marathon, y'all, I like going fast. And so I think the problem with StreamYard is that in the PowerPoint presentation, see, in the PowerPoint, I have a clip of a video where John introduces me, and I love that. It's so awesome. But in StreamYard, they don't allow that. If you stream it with a video, then you'll have no sound. And that was the experience. And I'm like, man, I've got all the settings turned on. Everything looks great. I'm testing the mic. I go out, and so whew. Okay. All right. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Well, let's get going, and let's like get this thing recorded, because this is going to be up and recorded, and it's always going to be available for people to go through. And so happy Saturday to you. I hope you're not having as I hope your morning's not going the way that mine just went. I hope you're having a great morning. Of course, I'm having a great morning too. This really is the best day of my life. It's the best day of my life because God didn't have to wake me up this morning. He chose to. Some people didn't get that opportunity. And so I'm very grateful for that. So let me keep on, focusing on that. But I hope you're having a great Saturday. You could be doing anything with your Saturday right now. Of course, the people here in the room are investing their time with me this morning, and so are you. And so are you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And, first, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you today as I talk about the 5 keys to increasing your sales influence. But before I begin, I really want to first and foremost thank Amy, and because Amy is the one who brought me in today and is allowing for me to speak for Innovate Real Estate here in Virginia, and speak for her and her organization here today. And when I spoke with Amy beforehand, when I spoke with Amy on the phone, I gave Amy 2 guarantees. The first guarantee that I gave Amy was that you are absolutely going to get something that you can apply to your business straight away. You can take it and you can apply it to your business today. You really are. And you're going to be able to walk out of here with some of the tips that I give you and apply them in your business and have greater results. Now, the second guarantee that I gave Amy is that I am absolutely going to work with this group beyond just this event. And, here's the thing. The things that I want to talk about today, they're kind of going to scratch the surface. This is a latte and learn. They're going to kind of get you started. They're going to be able to apply some things today, but there's going to be exponential growth if you continue on with me as we move down the road. And so I gave Amy the guarantee that I'm going to absolutely work with this group beyond just this event. An event is a Kickstarter. An event is a Kickstarter. But if you want to truly grow, I have to take you through a process. And I'm looking forward to you growing with me throughout that process. And so at the end of this, I'm going to be giving you an opportunity to join me for two things. I'm going to give you an opportunity to join me on a 12-week sales bootcamp journey. And by the end of the talk, if you're interested in what I have to say about that, then in the chat, drop a comment that says leadership or sales. And along with your email address for virtual people. If you're here in the room, just take your business card. On the back of your business card, write leadership or sales on the back of your business card, and I'll follow up with you tomorrow. For those that are joining online virtually, just type in leadership or sales along with your email address, and I'll follow up with you, and we'll go through all of the details of the 12-week boot camp. But then also, I'm going to give you an opportunity for those of you who might be interested in pursuing a career speaking, coaching, training, kind of doing something like this, to join the John Maxwell team. And so at the end, or if you're here now and you want to go ahead and do it, just put JMT, put JMT for John Maxwell team, JMT in the chat. Or if you're in the room, put JMT on the back of your business card. Of course, you'll have your phone numbers on your business cards. We all know that. So I'll follow up with you there. But if you're online, just make sure you put your email address, because if I don't have your email address, how can I follow up with you? I won't be able to follow up with you. And so, but today, I want to talk to you about the 5 keys to increasing your sales influence. Well, again, my name is Jason Adams. And if you can't tell, I love speaking. I love speaking. I love coaching. I love training and really working in the sales arena. I joined and I began my personal growth journey. It was over 6 years ago now. And I can tell you that throughout my background, I have sold thousands of vehicles. That's what I did. I sold thousands of vehicles, cars, trucks, motorcycles. I've sold homes, commercial properties, remodeling projects, home improvements, you name it, and I've sold it. And when it comes down to this kind of thing, it always kind of boils down to this. People have this kind of used car salesman type mentality that we kind of get a picture of in our mind. And while I did sell used cars, I want to break that from you in Jesus' name and actually redefine what sales is. We go to Webster's dictionary and you look up the word sales. It says to exchange a commodity for money, to exchange a commodity for money. And, now in the Maxwell leadership team, of course, we define leadership as influence, nothing more and nothing less. And I really believe sales is the exact same thing, isn't it? I believe sales can be redefined as influence, nothing more and nothing less. Now, when we think about it that way, there's nothing creepy about it. There's nothing sneaky about it. You know what I'm saying? And so when we're talking about sales inside the Maxwell method of sales, we're talking about building relationships, making a difference in people's lives, and exchanging our service and value for those that would exchange it for money at some point in time. Now, just a quick raise of hands for those of you who are in the room, or you're online. You slip something in the chat and let us know there. Where are you on this? Where are what are your sales skills? Are they above a 6? Are they above a 7? Are they below a 6? Are they below a 7? Where are you? Where would you be on that scale? For those of you that don't like selling, or you think your selling skills are at the lower end of that scale, I want you to start using these words. Up until now. Up until now. In fact, I want you, for those of you here in the room, I want you to turn to your neighbor real fast and say, up until now, I've not been the salesperson I will be when I leave here today. And if you're on the online chat, just simply look at the screen or put it in the chat. Up until now, I've not been the salesperson I will be when I leave here today. Yeah, good stuff. Now, for those of you that just heard that, I want you to turn back to that person and say, of course, this is for the people in the room. I want you to say, or even look at yourself. It's about time. It's about time. But up until now, aren't those interesting? Aren't those words really interesting? I think they're super interesting. Now, when we're going through a couple of the different keys here that I'm going to be giving you, you're going to be able to utilize these. You're going to be able to utilize these straight away to grow your influence inside the sales arena. And so the first key that I want to share with you is what I really believe it's fundamental to all sales is belief in yourself and your product. Belief in yourself and your product. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple of slides here, and let me click my little thing here. And so This is going to be a good one. I think you're really going to like this. Many years ago, I was talking to one of my mentors, Chris Robinson. He said, and he had the opportunity years ago to speak at an event with Jeffrey Gitomer. Now, Jeffrey Gitomer was one of the top salespeople at one of the top sales organizations in the world, one of the top sales offices in the world. And as Chris was sitting down inside this arena with him, he said, "Chris, I want to talk to you about sales for about 3 hours, but I really want to sum up sales in about 10 seconds." And you can imagine, Chris looks at him and he's like, "What are you talking about? How are you going to do that, Jeffrey? If you're going to talk about sales for 3 hours tomorrow, but tell me about sales in 10 seconds. And Jeffrey looks at him and he says, "Well, Chris, sales really boils down to this. It really boils down to this. It's attitude and mindset. Attitude and mindset." He says, "Chris, if you want to give me a salesperson, you want to give me a person with the right attitude and the right mindset, it doesn't matter what they're selling. I can work with that individual and help them to become a top salesperson." Now, I always talk about attitude before I begin any talk in sales. And the first key to sales or increasing your sales influence is belief in yourself. Belief in yourself and belief in your product. Now, y'all know the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth is a book that was written by John Maxwell, who I'm certified through. And inside this book, there's a chapter called The Law of the Mirror. The Law of the Mirror. Now, inside this book, the law basically just says that in order to add value to others, you must first see value in yourself. And so what this chapter really comes down to is self-esteem, isn't it? And I can tell you, when I began to kind of read this book and John began to teach on self-esteem, I thought, "Hey, what are we talking about here? Are we in junior high school?" But as I began to share the book with others, as I began to bring people through training programs with the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, what I found was that there's more adults dealing with self-esteem and belief issues than there are in junior high school. And so I want to give you a couple of keys in order for you to really build this mindset of belief, because a lot of the success or lack of success that you're having, it really comes down to your belief. And so here's a couple of keys. Here's a couple of keys in order for you to build your belief. The first key is to guard your self-talk. Guard your self-talk. How many of you in the room talk to yourselves? If you're on the online chat, how many of you on the online chat talk to yourselves? We all talk to ourselves. Every single one of us in this room just answered that question. So we all talk to ourselves. You're not crazy if you talk to yourselves. But here's what we have to understand. What we say to ourselves, we tend to believe. And if we want to grow, and if we want to develop, we have to guard our self-talk. We just have to do it. We have to watch what it is that we're saying to ourselves. Some of our biggest critics can be ourselves. Some of our biggest advocates can be ourselves. But you have to choose, what voice are you going to listen to? Whenever we learn and grow, and really our belief comes from a cycle. Our belief comes from a cycle, and that belief comes and starts with whatever it is that we're listening to, whether we're listening to ourselves or whether we're listening to something else or someone else outside of us. And so the cycle looks like this. The cycle looks like this. Whatever we're listening to dictates our thoughts. Our thoughts dictate our feelings. Our feelings dictate our actions. Our actions dictate our results. And our results either affirm or they rephrase our belief that we had in the first place. And so if you want to grow your sales, if you want to grow yourself in sales, your self-talk has to be strong. It just has to be strong. It really does. And so I would say, if you really think about this, it takes the exact same amount of energy to think positively about something as it does to think negatively about something. So I would say, if you're going to choose, choose the positive. Choose the positive. So the first thing you want to do is you want to guard your self-talk and make sure that you have positive thoughts and positive things going and helping you move in the direction that you want to go. Now, the second thing that you want to do if you want to build your belief is that you must not compare yourself to others. You must not compare yourself to others. Just don't do it. This is one of the biggest things that we do inside the sales world, isn't it? Inside the business world, in life. With parents, with family, what do? We compare, but that is one of the most dangerous things that we can do if we're going to build our belief. You see, we have our own race that we each individually need to run. And the only person that you need to compare yourself to is yourself. Are you a better version of yourself today than you were last week? Are you a better version of yourself today than you were a month ago? Are you a better version of yourself today than you were 6 months ago? You see, no one else affects the impact of your life or your path of life the way that you can. And so the only person you need to compare yourself to is yourself. Now, there's only two things that happen when we begin to compare ourselves inside of anything. The first thing that happens is we compare ourselves to someone that's so far ahead of us that we get discouraged and we quit. We think about a person that's done really well in life, that for their nice car, the family, and we think, oh man, they're so far ahead of us. How could I ever get there? Or I'll never get there. And let me just pause here just for one moment. You guys know I'm a car guy. I love cars. You see me driving the cars all the time. I can't tell you how many people I meet and they'll say, man, that's an awesome Corvette. I wish I could have one, or must be nice. And I'm like, yeah, you should go get one. You should certainly have one. Don't just have one, have three. And they'll respond to me, I could never have that. In fact, just yesterday, I was talking to somebody and they said, I'd really love to have Aston Martin, but I couldn't have it. And I'll tell you, for years, I would try to inspire them and I would try to give them all the reasons that they could. And finally, I stopped. And I began to agree with them. And I said, you know what? You're right. Lady yesterday, she was telling me, I'd love to have an Aston Martin, but I could never have that. And I said, you know what? You're right. And she looked at me and she kind of thought, like, what are you talking about here, Jason? What do you mean I'm right? And I was like, you're right, because you just said you can't have one. And you're a self-fulfilling prophecy. If that's what you're speaking, if that's what you're believing, that's your self-talk. That's what we're talking about. And so you got to think about this. You got to really think about this. And, so it's like they're so far ahead and I'll never get there. And then what are we doing? We're comparing ourselves. Our self-talk is going backwards, and then we get discouraged and quit. Or the other thing that happens is we find somebody that's so far behind us, and then we begin to compare ourselves to them. Well, Amy's a mess, and I'm not as bad off as Amy is. And what happens in that scenario is that we become complacent. And then we remain where we are because we compare ourselves to someone that is behind us. You see, if you want to grow, if you want to develop, the only person you can compare yourself to is you. Are you becoming a better version of yourself each and every single day? And you have to ask yourself, what have you done to become a better version of you in the last week, in the last month, in the last 6 months? This is really worth thinking about, isn't it? And so I really can't. I really can't. Can't tell I love this stuff. I can't wait to take you on a journey through the 12 weeks in order for you to be intentional about your growth. Because for the most part, what do? A lot of people, what do? We go through the motion, and our life looks like this. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, watch TV, we go to bed, we do it again. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we watch TV, go to bed, we do it again. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we watch TV, we go to bed, and we are wondering why, in the cycle of life, why things aren't getting better. That's what we're doing. And that's what happens, isn't it? That's the cycle of life. And then people are sitting there wondering why things aren't getting better. Well, things aren't getting better because we're not becoming a better version of ourselves. And so if you want to grow, if you want to develop, the second thing you need to do in this particular case is you want to grow your belief, is that stop comparing yourself to others and only compare yourself to your best self. So key number one, if we want to increase our sales influence, is to believe. Everybody say believe. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Key number two, if we want to increase our sales influence, is we have to focus on relationships. We have to focus on relationships. No matter what it is that you're selling, no matter what it is that you're offering, it's a relationship business, isn't it? At the end of the day, everything else is going to be gone, but what's going to remain is people and how you made them feel. At this point in my career, what I've found is that a mass majority of my business is from referrals. Now, that's been over a period of time with, working with a lot of individuals and being very intentional about doing my very best to treat people in relationships as best as I possibly can. Because this is what I know. this is what I know. You don't know who the person next to is going to become. Now, for those of you in the room, I want you to turn to your neighbor real fast and say, you don't know who I'm going to become. Yeah. Yeah. Now, for the online people, look at the screen and just tell yourself, tell the online, tell us, you don't know who I'm going to become. You don't know who I become. You see, here's what I understand. Here's what I understand. So I think about a couple of organizations that I work for at this point in time. And, a couple of these organizations that I work for are actually owners of companies that used to work for me many, many years ago. And one of the companies that I worked for was an individual that was a salesperson on my team. And, years later, he leaves the company, he leaves the organization, he opens up his own company. And he calls me one day, he says, hey, Jason, man, I'd love for you to come in and, work with my organization. And I was, I was excited to talk to him. Of course, I hadn't talked to him in a long time. I said, wow, it's been so great. I haven't talked to you in so long. I said, well, why me? Why me? And he said, why would you want for me to come in and, work with the organization? He said, Jason, you were one of the best leaders that I've ever worked with. And it really has been my desire that if I ever had a company, I want for you to come in and work with me and be a thinking partner for me. And I can tell you very clearly that was truly humbling. It's truly humbling. You see, when he worked for me at that period of time, he was just a young kid. He had a lot going on. He was distracted, wasn't the best employee, but yet I treated him like a person and I treated him like an adult. And I have a real simple leadership philosophy when leading people in sales, and it's this: treat people like people and adults like adults. You see, you don't know who the person next to you is going to become. You don't know who the person working for you now is going to become, and you don't know who you're going to become. And I can tell you this: your business will grow, your sales will grow, and your influence will grow if you keep relationships at the forefront of everything that you do. Never let a transaction be greater than a relationship. Just don't do it. Always, I cannot stress this enough, always keep relationships at the forefront. Now, the third thing in order to increase your sales influence, it's very simple. It's very simple. Add value first. And ask yourself, for those of you here in the room, for those of you online, are you seen as a giver? Are you seen as someone that's generous? You're a giver? Or are you seen as a taker? Are you constantly and consistently trying to see what you can get, what you can receive, what's in it for you? Are you a giver or a taker? The best way to get a referral is to give a referral. That's why I always talk so highly of people. That's why I always talk so highly about the organizations that I go in and work with and the people on my team. Why? I want to be a generous giver. It's just having a spirit of generosity. And so always make sure that you're adding value first. Now, the fourth key that you want to do is, if you want to increase your sales influence, is this: the number one thing that keeps people from increasing their sales. Wait for it. They don't ask. And if you want to grow your influence, there's a couple of different things that you need to ask for in order to increase your sales. The first thing that you need to do is you need to actually ask for the sale, because oftentimes at the end of what we just talked about with a potential client, what we'll do is we'll make a statement, we'll make a comment, but we won't actually ask people to purchase from us. And so I'm not just talking about asking for money or going through kind of a quick sales pitch and then making sure that we ask for it. I'm talking about asking for a couple of other things as well. And if you ask for these other things as well, then this will really, really help grow your business. Really help grow your business. Now, the second thing that I want you to ask for is I want you to ask for referrals. You see, asking for referrals is one of the best ways to grow your business, and asking somebody that's satisfied with your business if they know anyone else that might be interested in what it is that you have to offer. But so many times we don't ask people for referrals. I mean, how many times have you seen that happen? We don't ask people for referrals. And as a result, our business doesn't grow because we don't ask. And so first we have to ask for the sale. We second have to ask for referrals. But here's the third one. And this one is the key. This one works really well inside of our culture today. So you might want to write this one down. Remember, I told you, get your pad, get your notebook, get your pen. You might want to write this one down. The third thing would be asking for testimonials. And what I would really love for you to do, I would really love for you to ask for video testimonials. Ask for video testimonials. Nothing will help grow your business as a third-party testimonial of someone telling someone else how great you are. Now, it's one thing if I would come into you and say, well, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, you should work with me. But when you get to watch a series of videos of many people saying, how awesome you are and how satisfied with your business or service you are, that's going to be amazing. That's going to be amazing. And people are going to want to work with that. Now it becomes more believable. Today, obviously, in the world of smartphones, it's so simple. It is so simple. When someone says that they're satisfied with your business or your service, you can just simply say a quick phrase just like this, and this will grow your business significantly. And so, again, you're going to want to write this one down. You're going to want to write this one down. If someone comes to you and they say, well, I'm really satisfied with what it is that you offer, or, man, you've done a great job working with me. The great phrase is this. One of the number one ways that I grow my business is through video testimonials. Would you mind sharing those comments on video? Now, let me repeat that for you because you want to really get this. One of the best ways that I grow my business is by sharing stories like that through video testimonials. Would you mind doing a quick video? Most people will sit there and say, oh yeah, of course I'll do a video, because they're so satisfied with what it is that you have to offer. Or, sometimes they may say, I don't know, I'm not really too good on video, because maybe they're an introvert, they're a little shy. That's okay. What you want to do in that case is you want to keep them at ease. And what you'll do is you'll just grab your cell phone and you'll ask them 3 questions. And the 3 questions are this: how was it before working with me? How you are after working with me? And why should someone else hire me? How you were before working with me, how you were after working with me, and why somebody else should hire me. Why should somebody else hire me? Learn those, live those, and then lead them. All right, learn them, live them, and lead them. And this could be with, this could be with anything. This could be with a service, could be a product. So you could be a contractor, you could be an electrician, you could be a real estate agent, you could be a salesperson at a car dealership. It could be with anything, couldn't it? It really could. So, for example, it could be like, how did your yard look before I started working on your yard? How does your yard look after working with my yard? Why should somebody else hire me to come work with their yard? If you're in real estate, how was it before you began working with me to sell your home? How was it after working with me to sell your home? Why should somebody else hire me to sell their home? You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter what the vertical is. If you ask a before, a after, and why, what that does is that creates a great story in order to relate to someone else that may be watching. Because people will buy, and what they're looking for is what your product or service can do for them and the transformation it's going to have in their life. So you want to ask. You want to ask for 3 things. Ask for the order, ask for the referral, ask for the video testimonial. The 5th thing, the 5th key, the final key, if you want to increase your sales influence, is you want to know who it is that you're looking for. Know who you're looking for. Oftentimes when we're, inside of a group like this, or, someone's reaching out to you and saying, well, how can I help you grow? Or what it is that, who is it that you need to connect with? And, what do we say? We say something like, well, I'm just looking for anybody to buy my product. I'm looking for anybody that wants a house wired. I'm looking for anybody that wants to buy a home. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. I started broad too as well. Okay. Okay. People would come and ask me, well, Jason, what type of companies or organizations are you looking to speak for? And I would simply respond, companies with budgets. You see how broad I started, y'all. Okay. Who are companies that have money that I can work with? But over a period of time, I began to identify the companies and the people that I could make the greatest difference with. And now what that did was that allowed for me to be able to categorize who it is that I would like to work with in a very precise time period. And so you see, for me, so what I like working for and what I like to work with, and let me just kind of give you a little, like a box in order to kind of put me inside of, okay? Because in order for people to refer you, in order for people to know what it is that you're looking for, in order to sell, they have to know. And so you have to give them a box. You have to give them a box. And so for me, it's very specific. I like to work with companies that are privately owned, between 50 and 400 employees. The space doesn't matter, but I like to provide leadership development for those organizations that are privately owned between 50 and 400 employees. Doesn't matter what type of space it is. Doesn't matter, it could be car dealerships, could be real estate organizations. It doesn't really matter. the vertical there doesn't matter, but those are the type of organizations that I'm looking for. Now, how many of you in the room know an organization that's that size, that's privately owned, between 50 and 400 employees? Yeah, of course. Of course you guys do. You all do. Now, what I've done there is I've given you a box and I've allowed for you to be able to put that particular person, company, organization that you know into that box. And so now you know that exact type of client that I'm looking for. And so I want you to think of the exact same thing. What type of individual are you looking for? Is it a mother? Is it a father? Is it a family with kids? Is it a particular profession? Maybe it's a type of company or organization that you're looking to put into that box. What if you're in real estate, maybe you're looking for someone that wants to buy and sell condos, or perhaps you like to work with luxury real estate, or say that you're a car dealer and you like to work with people that want to buy fast exotic cars like Lamborghinis. Who is your client? What is your box? It could be anything, couldn't it? It could be anything, couldn't it? But what's that box that you're looking for? And the more clear that you get on that type of individuals that you like to work with, the easier it is for people to kind of put you in that box and say, hey, you should meet Amy because Amy fits inside that box. Let me give you another perfect example in this, in case you didn't get this, okay? Because you might not be real clear on that right now. You might not be the clearest on that right now. And so let me kind of give you another example. When I was a car dealer, I liked big lifted monster trucks. That's what I did. That was my box. Everybody in the state of Virginia knew if you wanted a big lifted truck, you go to ABC Diesel's Autos by Choice, Jason Adams. That helped me to become the #1 car dealer in the state of Virginia. That was my box. People didn't go to me for, maybe some other car dealers. It was, if you're alive, you drive, right? If you have a heartbeat, you can get financing. We'll put you in a car today. We offer that. Maybe it was, I know another guy in the automotive business. All he still sells is Toyota trucks. That's it. Used Toyota trucks, Tacomas and Tundras. He does nothing else. That's his box. So what is your box? Now, here's the other thing. That I want you to understand about this, because this can kind of get scary, can it? Because oftentimes we'll think, well, if I give to this box, Jason, if I give this box to people, there's other people that I'd like to work with outside of that box, and that's really great news as well. That's great news as well, because those people are going to be available for you to work with as well. But what this does is it gives you a target, and it gives those that are around you a target for them to look for, because otherwise, if they don't know what to look for, then there's no way that they're going to be able to identify that particular person to make that connection that you're looking for. And so just take a minute, let's take a moment, and I want you to think about your ideal client. Of course, you're probably already thinking about it, but what does that individual look like? Is it a particular individual? Is it a particular type of company? Maybe you're in commercial real estate and you're like, well, I only like to deal with car dealers. I only like to deal with automotive repair shops or automotive parts distribution places like AutoZone, or I like to develop those types of properties. What is your box? Maybe for your box is, I work on Apple computers and Apple iPhones. I buy and sell Apple iPhones and computers. I repair Apple iPhones and computers. My box is Apple products. What is your particular box? Maybe you like to only work with dentists. Maybe you want to work with lawyers, but what is your box? Let's be thinking about that. And so what you want to do here is you want to write out the description. You want to write out the details that you're looking for. All right. You want to take some time to do this. You want to take some time to do this because what this does is it allows you to kind of craft it, and people become to get known with it. Now, just a quick show of hands for those of you who are in the room. Those of you who are online, you'll just have to kind of go with it. But how many in the room are still unclear on what that particular individual looks like? By just a quick show of hands. Okay. Yeah. And that's fine. What you want to do is you want to work on this. It's not a one and done. You want to craft this. You want to take time and intentionally begin to work on this daily in order to identify and really attract and bring the type of person that you're looking for. Okay. It's not an overnight thing. It took me, let me just give you, because you might be like, well, Jason, I don't know my box. That's okay. It took me years to get known as the lifted truck guy. That's okay. But the more clear that you get on this, when you take time to intentionally begin to develop this, now people can begin to be putting that box. And they'll say, hey, you need to deal with Amy because Amy likes dealing with luxury real estate. You need to deal with Joe because Joe works on Lamborghinis. You need to work with, Bob because Bob, you see what I'm saying? You need to work with Mark Loomis in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, because Mark Loomis is the condo guy. Mark Loomis doesn't know anything else but condos, but he knows every condo building. He knows every condo floor plan. He can tell you everything about every building in Myrtle Beach. Mark Loomis has a box. And so you want to be intentional and work on this. Okay. And never stop. And so let's take a moment. Let's recap today's lesson. The first key to increasing your sales influence is to believe in yourself and believe in your product. You got to believe in yourself. It starts with believing in yourself. Second, you got to believe in your product. If you don't believe in your product, it's going to be very hard for you to sell something. It was very hard for me to sell a Toyota Prius. When I was 18, got a job at the Toyota dealer. It was very hard for me to sell it. Why? I didn't like a Toyota Prius. It's hard to sell something I didn't like. Could I do it? Would I do it? Sure. But it was hard for me to be, oh, you got to buy this. Man, this is the coolest. Now, let me tell you, let me give you a great example, a perfect example, because this is why it's key number one. Key number one starts with believe in yourself because it starts with you. And then second to that key is belief in your product. And let me give you an example of that. When I was probably 17, 18, it was somewhere around there. I had two jobs, okay? I was working at two car dealerships. One was the Toyota car dealership. I got my sales license, started selling used cars there. But really before that, I was working at a place called Autos by Choice, the dealership I ended up, owning. And at that time, I was washing cars for $50 a week. So I was kind of working for pennies on the dollar. And one day I'm out washing cars. The two other guys, they were out at lunch and they were out running errands after lunch and stuff. And so I'm out washing cars one day and this guy comes in and he wants to look at this 1993 Chevrolet K5 Blazer. And now this K5 Blazer, a year before the dealership had it, and it was kind of like a junker, like a clunker for junker. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't very nice. The paint was faded. It had ugly wheels on it. It was nothing to write home about. It was nothing fancy. People aren't going to be beating down the door to buy this. It's kind of like a mold infested house that, is 500 square feet that, the seller wants $1 million for. It's going to be hard for you. You can believe in yourself all you want. It might be hard for you to believe in that product. Right. And so it's not like that was a very desirable house. This was not a very desirable truck, but the dealership sold it and they ended up, the guy that bought it took the next year and he totally redid it. I mean, he repainted the truck. He put 20-inch wheels on the truck, which, this is when 20-inch wheels were big. Of course, 20-inch now, wheels now are kind of small, aren't they? And, he did new bumpers. He painted the bumpers. It was a real pretty, bright white truck, white bumpers, chrome wheels, did, all the upgraded brand new headlights, taillights, the parking lamps, did the custom billet grill, did a custom dual exhaust system, a cold air intake system. He put new carpet in it, put racing seats in the front, had the reupholstered seat in the back redone, and the front racing seats were like real nice ones. They were reclinable. They weren't, they were very high-end seats. He redid the headliner in it, so that was new. So when you opened the door, the truck smelled new. Everything worked with it. There was no issues with it. He did all new stereo, so new radio and speakers and all that good stuff. And I mean, just a super cool truck. And so obviously now that we had it back and, I'm out washing cars, I was actually washing this one and it was cool. Like, this was a cool truck to be washing. This guy walks over from the Wendy's, fast food restaurant right next door. And he's like, hey, can I take a look at this? So I run in and get the keys and, I started up for him and he's like, how much is it? And I was like, what? They're asking $11,000. And, so I'm just telling them, all this stuff that I just told you of why I thought it was cool because I'm a car person. And so a couple, after 10, 15 minutes, he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go to the bank and come back. And so, okay, well, see you later. I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I didn't ask for the sale, y'all. I didn't ask for the sale. That's why this is one of the keys. And so anyways, a couple hours later, I'm still outside washing cars, doing my job. And he comes back and said, what are you doing back? And he's like, I told you I was going to the bank to get the money. I'm here to buy the truck. And so, oh, okay, well, let me go introduce you to my brother and David. They're inside. They can sell it to you. And, I can't do any of that. I just wash the cars. My paycheck that week went from $50 to $450. I got 10% commission in the dealership, made $4,000. Now, why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because that's a perfect example of belief in your product. When you believe in your product, you're trying to just help somebody get something that you might think is awesome, that you think is cool, that you think is the greatest, and they obviously want it. So now you're helping them to get it. And so that's why that's the first key. The first key, belief in yourself and belief in your product. The second key is you want to focus on relationships. Remember, always keep that at the forefront. Never let a transaction be greater than a relationship. The third key, always add value to people first. Who are you? You're a person of value and you value people and you add value to people. So always add value first. The fourth key, you want to actually ask for the sale. And we talked about that, how many times we don't do that. And finally, the fifth key, if you want to increase your sales influence, is you want to know who it is that you're looking for. But here's the thing, y'all. Whatever you do, do not quit. Now, for those of you who might want to dig deeper into this and join the 12-week sales bootcamp journey that I mentioned earlier, remember, simply on the back of your business card, write leadership or sales. And then what I'll do is I'll follow up, leave it on your table. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. If you're here online, just write sales or leadership in the chat, put your email address, and I'll follow up with you about that. And also, share your takeaways. Of course, after here, I'll be with the live audience so we can share takeaways. But if you're online, what are your takeaways? List your top takeaway. Which one of the 5 keys applies to you the most, do you think? What kind of spoke to you the most? Which one you're like, maybe for you it was, I've never asked for video testimonials, Jason. That was really good, man. Or maybe for you, it's belief in yourself. That's my favorite one, if I could be real with you. I like being transparent, okay? And so let me just kind of share a couple next steps, maybe for some of you that might be interested in this, because this stuff, again, all of this is designed to help you. Of course, the 12-week boot camp is gold. It is filled with gold, so you can increase your business exponentially. But then also, maybe you want to go in your organization, or you individually, you want to do a sales impact report. You want to do a sales impact workshop. Maybe you want to do the sales leadership impact report, or a fundamentals of sales workshop. I would love to talk to you about any of those. Just drop a comment. Of course, you can talk to me afterwards here in a moment. We'll talk about that in person. But if you're interested in any of that, drop a comment with your email address and just say which one you might be interested in talking about, and I'll follow up with you and we'll talk about all the details with that. And then 2 more. One would be the sales impact report. This is all about the DISC and understanding your selling style. If you remember at the beginning of the presentation, I showed where it showed my picture and just kind of like a couple things about me. I'm an ID persuader. It means I'm very personable. I love people. I love chatting and telling stories, but I'm very results oriented. That's my D personality. And what is yours? Maybe you don't know, but you want to know that, because in that we can talk about your specific selling style so that you can take your style to the maximum. But here's the other thing that's key about that is then we can also discuss the matrix of your customer's buying style. And so what we'll do then is we'll have strategies for improving your sales with each style. It's key. It's so key. We can have an action plan worksheet for increasing sales. And then, of course, we'll have tips on how to best communicate. And then lastly, maybe you've enjoyed this. Maybe you've thought, well, man, I would like to kind of do something like this. I would love to be a speaker. I'd love to be a coach. I'd love to be a trainer. And I can tell you, we would love to have you on the Maxwell Leadership Team. So you can become a speaker, coach, trainer with the Maxwell Leadership Team. And if you would be interested in joining that, which that goes back to my number one thing, invest in yourself, then and this is one of the keys, then just simply write JMT in the chat, or afterwards, here just a moment, we'll talk about that. Obviously, I love my Maxwell Leadership family. Of course, as I told you, that's why we had hiccups, because at the beginning of this presentation, I have a video where John introduces me. And, John's the leading authority on leadership development, on leadership. And so to have him do a customized video for your friend Jason, I love it. I'm full of gratitude for John. I'm full of gratitude for my Maxwell Leadership family. And if you join, when you join, you'll understand why. But thank you guys so much. Thanks, young ladies. It's been a joy to be with you. I absolutely love doing this stuff. And I can't wait to do more. Can't wait to chat with you. Can't wait to talk to you about and give you all the details about the 12-week boot camp. It's great. You're going to love it. And if you want to jump into the Maxwell program, you want to do a DISC, any of that stuff is really awesome, powerful, just pure gold. And what a pleasure. Go out there, have a great weekend, have an awesome Saturday, and we'll see you soon. All right. Talk soon, everybody. God bless.